Hello, this video is to kind of describe the article critique and what that assignment's about in this research class, ESMG 3350. An article that we're talking about in this context is a journal article. It's a scientific journal article, not a journalism journal article or a news article or some sort of an opinion piece. What we're really looking for is some sort of a research that was done in a particular methodology. And so what I want you to do is I want you to go to the databases and find a research. Hopefully when you did your bibliography assignment, you already came up with some articles that you've already read. And so you're already familiar with some of the research in your topic area that you're interested in. But now we're going to take a different focus. And the focus for this assignment is that of dissembling or deconstruction, if you will. When you started doing your bibliography, what you're doing is you're getting information to build up into a literature review. So you're actually assembling the research process at that point. But at this point, we're going to just pause and we're going to take a moment to go to some research and we're going to do some critiquing. So basically, we're going to kind of pick it apart, pull it apart, and look at it component by component and see how powerful or how well the research was done. So I want you to start with identifying the research question and basically look at how they pose the research question. Is it a quantitative or is it a qualitative research question, and their method that they selected, whether it is a case study method, whether it's a survey method, experimental design, an action research. It doesn't really matter what type of design they used. What I'm concerned about is that you can identify that type of design. Now what I would suggest you do is once you've identified that type of design is go online and find some different literature and things that tell you about using that design. The other thing is that you could probably go to the library and find some methodology books. Not only are there general methodology books like the one we're using for this class, there's also other methodology books that are specific to particular methods. I have a few of those for action research, phenomenological research, there's grounded theory research method. So there's different types of methodology books for different types of methods. But what I'd like you to do is go and look at some of that literature. Now you don't have to read the whole book on survey research, for instance, but there's going to be a lot of things in there about sampling and data gathering and data analysis and things that you will be able to draw from if what you're looking at is a journal article that is a survey design. So move on to sampling. How did they get their participants, and what is their unit of measure? So what is their unit of analysis, rather? So are they looking at the individual? Are they looking at a group? Or are they looking at some sort of a process? What is it that they're actually trying to analyze? And look at how they gather data. Are they doing it observationally? Are they doing it with some sort of a questionnaire? Are they doing it with any other type of a thing? Like, let's say, for instance, there's some things like when you go to the grocery store, for instance, and you have a little membership card and they scan that and then they scan your groceries. They're gathering data on the types of purchases you make, and they analyze for things like what things do you buy generic, what things do you buy name brand, how much of things do you buy, and those kind of quantities and all of that kind of stuff. So they do that so that they can not only set their inventory levels, but they can tell a little bit about their surrounding community and what kind of things that they should carry in the store, as well as what type of marketing and advertisement should be done in that area of the town. So there's a tremendous amount of research done in just your basic fresh values card. So how are your researchers gathering data? And I want you to not only identify these components, but talk about whether they're appropriate for the research question and how much power those things really have in developing some sort of certainty at the end. So for example, if you've got somebody that's doing observational research and maybe they have a checklist of things that they're counting, like let's say for instance you're going to sit on a corner and watch how many people run a red light, and then you're going to count that as in terms of gender, how many men ran the red light as opposed to women, those kinds of things, those kinds of studies. When they're doing them observationally, you have to always keep in mind that maybe the observer might make mistakes. So just make some comments on how good or how quality you think their data gathering is, whether it's a cross-cut design. So example, if I have you take a survey today, that's a cross-cut of what you might believe in a general sense. You might be in a bad mood today, and that might affect today's questionnaire, but over time, longitudinally, if I had you take the same questionnaire or something that was similar, I checked you over a period of time, I may be able to see trending. So look at whether or not this is a cross-cut design or if this is a longitudinal design. Also look at their method of analysis. If they're using statistical analysis, I don't expect you to know everything about the statistic, but I would recommend that you look at, like, let's say for instance they're using some sort of a correlation design, and they're trying to see the relationship between two variables. What I would want you to do is look at what they're doing and what they call their statistical design. Then just go online and Google it and find out what a regression model is, or what a t-score is. Kind of get an idea for what is there and what it's all about. One of the books that I have on my shelf, and I really like this one. It was I got it in my statistics in graduate school, and it's really helpful if you're going to do any kind of statistical analysis. It's called the Tao of Statistics. This little tiny book is actually quite expensive for its size, but what it is it's a statistics book that has no numbers in it. So it's not going into calculations and things like that. What it's really doing is it's talking about what the purpose of each type of statistical concept, what it's for, and what it's supposed to do theoretically in kind of layperson terms. So it's really a good book. Finally, after you get the analysis, I want you to look at what they claim their main findings are. You know, is there significant differences between this as opposed to that if they're doing a comparative design? Is there a significant relationship between an independent variable and a dependent variable, and what does that mean? And then go to the discussion section of the research report and look at what their claims are. And what I would like you to do is be critical about what claims they make and whether or not they're accurate to what their findings were. Are they overstating anything? Are they understating it? And if they're on target, that's a good thing. We like to see, you know, that their findings were actually consistent with the power and knowledge claims that they're making at the end. Look for any types of vulnerabilities, but also look for strengths within the whole design. The purpose of this assignment is to demonstrate that you know the components of the research, as well as what the strengths and limitations are of each different component. How the method is decided, and the method should always be selected based on the research question. How the sampling was done, based on that sampling, how generalizable do the findings go to the rest of the population or outside of that particular study. How did they gather data? Is it reliable? Is it valid? How did they analyze it? Did they use the best statistical tool, or could they have used something better? You know, was it sufficient? And in their findings and their discussions, is the claims that they find and the claims that they make powerful enough to be meaningful? Did they find something big? Did they find something small? And who is it important to? So, and what claims do they make about its importance? So just look at that, and what I'd like to see you do in developing your critique is give me just basically a short paragraph of a synopsis of what the research was. You know, I read a study on a survey about you know, firefighters' attitudes about women in the fire service, or something like that. And then the survey surveyed how many people, so you're looking at the number. They did a statistical design of this, and their main findings were this and this and this. And then go into critique and go piece by piece. Their methodology was good because it gave us a picture of a lot of different attitudes and a lot of people, but maybe if they had used a panel discussion, they might have gotten some, you know, a few people that would have been able to give richer and deeper information. Again, this is kind of looking at just the design. It shows me that, you know, the difference between a survey with questionnaires gives you a lot of information, but sometimes it's very superficial information, as opposed to maybe a panel discussion can give you some deep, rich information and some real clarification about why people feel the way that they do. But then again, you're only talking to 5 people. So there's always trade-offs in research, and I want you to demonstrate that you know what those are. So look at the sampling, look at the data gathered, and is it just numbers, is it just superficial questionnaire stuff, or is it really deep interview kinds of things? Go piece by piece through the rest of your report, and you can even title those sections method, sample data, sampling, data gathering, and just spell it out and make it very, very simple. Remember that if you go to other sources to help you to learn about that methodology, whether it's a survey research book, a statistics book, or anything, and I would encourage you to do that, make sure you cite those sources and then put those in your reference page at the end of your document. So you should end up with a document that's probably about 5 pages. It doesn't really need to be fantastic. What I want you to do is demonstrate to me that you understand what the strengths and weaknesses and all those components are in the research model in order to be able to use it. Because the next thing that you're going to do is you're going to start going again with the construction part. So you're going to start developing your research proposal. In the research proposal, we won't actually do the research, but I want you to be able to develop a research proposal based on saying, I'm going to answer this question with this methodology and this sampling. So in this course, what you're doing is you're doing a little bit of construction at the front. Now you're doing a deconstruction of the research process on somebody else's thing, because it's much easier to actually tear somebody's stuff apart than it is to build your own. But then in the final research proposal, you're building your own research design. And so going through that process, by the end of this course, you will know research backwards and forwards, and that's the goal. So let me know how I can help you. Find yourself a good journal article, and if you can't readily look and see the methodology in there plain and simple, just find another article. The article that you use does not have to be part of your eventual proposal. It doesn't matter to me what article you use for this assignment. It's just that you may use an article that you've already found just to make it easier on you. If you have any questions, contact me and we'll sort it out together. Thanks.